Man, that prequel to the Scooby-Doo movie is really weird. Because it stars many of the same people.
Yep.
Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
This is our post-Shriek Out reaction for I Know What You Did Last Summer. It is still the middle of Viewer's Choice Week, and today's request comes from Danny Blackson. He is a longtime fan of the channel. He has talked to us on Twitch and Twitter. He's followed us on pretty much everything, so you know what? You get the recommendation chosen today. And you want us to watch I Know What You Did Last Summer. And when I saw that request, I was like, you guys are aware that I've said many times I'm not really a fan of slasher films. Are you sure you want me to review a slasher film? Like, I've talked about this many times before, but slasher films, fear is objective. What one person is afraid of, another person will not be afraid of. So horror can be very subjective as well when it comes to entertainment. And yeah, slashers just don't really do it for me. I actually really like this movie.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was actually really impressed. I kind of went into this thing, it's like, oh man, it's a slasher, that's not my thing. It was also made in the 90s, which was kind of a weird time for movies in general, let alone horror films. But yeah, I actually ended up really enjoying this one.
Yeah, this is like one of those better 90s horror movies.
Yeah, there's a reason why it developed the following that it did. Like, I don't even want to say following because that implies like, oh, it's a cult following kind of thing. It's like, yeah. Most people didn't like it, but only this small, so like few people. No, most people did really like this movie. And after watching it, I understand why. Yeah, the characters are very much the characters you find in a 90s horror film. Like, so many parodies of 90s horror films came out, and they would just go down like the list of these type of characters in these movies. So many films like this, Scream, many of the other like older slasher films, when they decided to come back, they would have the exact same characters like this in here. Like the main girl, played by, who was it, Jennifer Love Hewitt? She is very much the, oh, hey, guys, like the very mousy, like, very timid. That's the word I'm looking for. But then she is best friends with Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is, oh my god, totally.
The basically like the beauty pageant winner, and is like...
Not even basically, like exactly.
Literally, yes.
Yeah, like she's literally the beauty pageant winner in town.
And then there's Freddie Prinze Jr., who's like...
the hunky guy that we're all supposed to like, but has really zero personality to him. And then there's the jock, who in this case is both the jock and the asshole rolled into one.
Yeah, the asshole jock.
Typically they're two different characters.
Is that Ryan Philippe?
Yeah, I believe that was him. Yeah,
it's like basically like this is the all-star 90s teen cast.
It is so just like by the numbers. However, this film is way smarter with those characters than most of the other films out there that tackle them. Because, yeah, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar are totally different personalities, totally different types of people. But there's moments in here in which they actually address, like, they were friends and they had a falling out, but it's not like the popular girl got real bitchy and then, like, she was like, oh, I'm too good for you. No, the popular girl actually kind of wanted to keep being friends, and because the popular girl is the one who's like, what happened to us? We used to be friends. Like, yeah, mousy girl who was supposed to be the protagonist, why did you turn your back on me? It's like, oh yeah, okay, didn't see that coming.
I mean, they didn't really explain it.
They didn't, but I mean, the fact that like there's something there's some kind of depth to it, was like, okay, that's a thing. Good for you guys. Hooray on this one. I also really freaking dug basically where these characters are when this movie begins.
Yeah.
This movie begins with them about to graduate high school, and each of them have their own big dreams and big goals. Like, there is a moment in which Sarah Michelle Gellar like just lays out there like her entire future with the jock. Like, no, I'm the prom queen, you're the prom king, so we're gonna get married, we have this many kids, you're gonna play for this sports team, and like, he's totally fine, he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, babe. And you see these kids have their entire life ahead of them. And that was something that I was kind of wondering about when we went into this film, because I know that, basically the premise of this film is they end up hitting someone with their car and murdering them, and then they have to cover up the murder. And it's like, all right, you have set up a very big task ahead of you to make me like your characters in this film when I know they're going to commit murder in it. All right, let's see what you got. But the film was actually able to make me kind of like, not really root on their decision to cover up this murder. I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Because
you guys have your whole lives in front of you.
Like you're going off to this fancy school. Like, the two of you just finally fell in love. Like, there's the moment in which Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr., they're like finally having sex for the very first time because Freddie Prinze is like, I know it in here that we're gonna be together forever. Like that typical like high school line that you throw out there, but it's like, nah, man, when you're in high school, that means the world. Like when you're in high school, it's like, nah, you actually believe that stuff. So yeah, you just see everything that they have just laid out ahead of them, their entire futures, and they're about to have all that just thrown away because of one stupid mistake. You understand where these characters are coming from, and that's the thing about this film. I've said that a big element for horror is there has to be like some level of relatability in there, where you can like picture yourself in that situation. And for a moment, I was watching this film and was like, yeah, this isn't really going to like have that horror effect on me, because I look at it and it's like, well, I never accidentally hit someone with my car and then had to cover up the murder of that person, so I don't know if I can relate to these people that much, but I can totally relate to that feeling of, I've got all these things going for me, but one screw up could just ruin all of it. Like one dumb decision could just break everything apart. And yeah, when you look at it like that, you totally like get behind these kids. Especially when the person that they murdered comes back and starts trying to kill them. And I gotta say, they actually like filmed the serial killer guy like really damn well. There's the moment in which Sarah Michelle Gellar is going into her house and she like is coming up to the stairs, and then the camera looks up and the killer is like just barely moving around the staircase at the very top. So it's like they miss each other by a second as they're looking around. It's like, wow, that was actually choreographed incredibly well for that just one shot right there. I also really dig that the killer guy messes with them throughout this film. There's some moments where it defies the laws of physics, like how he was able to fill the trunk of this one person's car with not only a corpse, but a corpse wearing a fringe jacket and covered in crabs. Then when she goes and gets them and comes back, he's completely gone. It's like, wow, so you were able to get rid of the body and the crabs in that amount of time,
leaving no mess behind or anything.
and you like clean up all the stuff that was underneath it too. Like, oh, you know, like, organize all that stuff back. It's like, yeah, that's, I ain't buying any of that, but it's okay. You know, I've gone along with dumber things in slasher films. Sure, why not?
This movie definitely like does have like some dumb moments, but it doesn't really affect it that much.
It doesn't like it's not. It has some. I don't even want to call them dumb moments, but it never has one of those oh come on moments. It never has one of those moments that breaks it. So yeah, this movie's got really likable characters, and one of the reasons they're so likable is simply because you watch how a year of things did not go as planned for them really kind of turned on them. You watch like Sarah Michelle Gellar, it's like she's not the prom queen like you get in typical horror slasher films. She's the prom queen a year later.
Yeah, like she had plans of going to New York and being famous, but she ends up just...
She went to New York for a little bit and it didn't work out, and now she's working for her sister who treats her who just treats her like shit. And she actually, it's that time of the year for their town's big beauty pageant again, and the previous queen always has to turn over the crown again. You can tell it's like, this is the only thing I had in my life that actually kind of worked out. I actually won this beauty pageant, and now it's done. Now I have to get rid of it. And yeah, her boyfriend was just a complete and total dick, but this crisis does kind of bring them together again, and you kind of enjoy watching that. You kind of, or at least I did, I actually kind of enjoyed going, it's like, okay, I know that guy's a complete piece of shit, but like, you actually do buy that they are still kind of sweet on each other, and like, that's kind of like coming back now that they're back in each other's lives. So yeah, they are actually like very well developed characters. You actually do like get a lot of depth to them.
Yeah, I feel like Ryan Philippe's character is like the most like extreme, like
very much so,
the most stereotypical, and
yes,
honestly, like even that didn't really bother me that much. I mean, he could have been a lot worse. Like,
yeah, we've seen worse.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, he's a kid in high school. Of course, he's gonna be like rambunctious and like rebellious and do stupid shit like that.
I looked at him and I was like, I know people like that.
Yeah,
or I knew people like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, none of these people are. They might each be tropes, but none of them are unrealistic.
No.
And the serial killer, I actually kind of dig that, you know, the whole, like, he's wearing a fisherman's slicker is kind of a weird design, but he's in a fishing town.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So there is that great moment in which they're going through the parade route, and she is just seeing all the people in slickers, and she's just like, I was like, could be that guy, could be that guy. It's like, okay, it actually really works for this. The only problems I really have with this film come in spoilery stuff, so we'll save the in-depth discussions of it for the actual spoilery part of the review, but for now I'll just say they kind of have a cop-out for the fact that it's like, oh, these kids ended up murdering a guy and they ended up trying to hide all the evidence of it. There's kind of a really big cop-out in there, which is like, audience, don't worry that much. It's not that. It's not as bad as you think it is. I was just like, don't wimp out on me now, movie. It's like, you did an impressive thing. You did a really impressive thing in that you got me to root for people who I knew were going to, like, murder someone and try and dispose of the body. And, like, even after they did, I was still rooting them on and still really cheering them on. You did a very impressive thing there. Don't try and cheap this out now, okay? Like, I was kind of a little bit upset with that. Also, there is one thing in here in which they go and they talk to the sister of the person who they ended up killing that night. And she mentions, like, running into someone else. I'm wondering if that was supposed to be a twist who the person is that she ran into. Because the entire movie, whenever they would bring that up, there is one member of their crew who just has the biggest, like, oh, where did you hear about that? Huh? What? I don't know nothing about that. What? Huh? I'm gonna go over here now. I don't want to go to that thing over there. I was like, wow, movie, for real? Okay, fine. That's you thought you were being real clever on this one, huh? Didn't you? Okay, fine, whatever.
Like, another thing I liked about this movie was, like, how, like, realistic it was, like, the effects, like, after high school. It's like... Yeah, it's like, things don't always go according to plan. Like, even if they didn't, like, accidentally murder someone, there was a good chance that some of their plans would have fallen short.
Well, yeah, like Sarah Michelle Gellar, like, she was one of the people who's just like, we are not letting this screw anything up for me. And then she screwed everything up for herself. Yeah, she just moved back from New York instantly, just like, yeah, that didn't go as planned.
And then Jennifer Love Hewitt, her character, like, she was supposed to be, like, very smart and intelligent, and she ended up starting, like, failing her college grades.
I think that one is...
That might have been
that's 100% because of the color, because after that all gets resolved at the end of this film, you see her in school again, which, by the way, that's not a spoiler because they made a sequel to this and she's the star of it, so you know she survives. But yeah, at the end of this, you see her back at school and she's like, yeah, I'm on the dean's list this time. So I was like, yeah, that's...
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. But college can be very stressful even without the murders.
Exactly, yes. Especially freshman year. Mm-hmm. Isn't that right, buddy? Yes, little Peach wants to say hi. Yes. Bam. So yeah, score time, I'm going to give this an 8.
Yeah, I think so too. Like,
I was really impressed with this. Maybe a what?
Maybe 7.5. Like, I don't know. It's like, it wasn't anything like groundbreaking, but it was very much your typical, like, 90s horror movie. Yeah. It wasn't stupid. It wasn't like horrible or anything, but it wasn't like anything amazing either. So
fair enough. Yeah,
it was just very good run-of-the-mill 90s horror movie.
Okay, yeah. I really ended up enjoying this. So I'm actually kind of intrigued to see what the sequel is, because I'm like, okay, did you just do the exact same thing again? Like, is it the same killer guy? Like, what happened in this? Or is there some new twist in here? So I am intrigued to see that one. But yeah, spoiler time, as I said, the problem that I have really with this film is how they do kind of cop out, because like towards like the very end of this movie, they reveal, oh, the guy who you killed that night was not actually the guy who killed that night. The guy who died up there that night was this who you thought you killed this entire time. He went up there to commit suicide because the year before that his girlfriend died up there. And we have this note. See, it's a suicide note from him. And they look at it and it's the exact same handwriting, the guy that's been stalking them. And that's when they kind of like, I don't even know how they put this one together. Like, they just somehow instantly like grabbed the perfect clue and jammed it into place of like, oh no, wait. It's the father of the girl who died that night. Well, when they talked
to the sister, like, I think she mentioned, like, something about her father, like,
she does, but that's what I'm saying. It's like they were just like, nope, here's everything that you need to prove who the killer is in the last quarter of the game. Mm-hmm. Here's the game-winning toss. In, like, the very end of this movie, the sister is just like, no, we got the suicide note. Also, the father of the girl who was my brother's girlfriend swore revenge, or like didn't actually say that, but made it very clear. Oh, he killed the guy who you thought you killed that night, and that's the guy you actually hit with the car that night. So yeah, that's the guy who's been stalking them down this entire time, which that kind of felt weird to me. That's like, okay, well, I know why you wanted revenge on the guy who everyone thinks they murdered that night because you blame him for your daughter's death. Why do you give a shit about these kids? I mean, yeah, they did something terrible to you, but it's like, you were out for revenge the last time. I guess you're still out for revenge on this one. But it kind of feels like, hey, I got away with that one murder. They're being blamed for that one. I'm just gonna lay low and let this all blow
Honestly,
over.
it's kind of like they saved the day because they prevented him from, like, getting revenge or something like that. Like,
no, he did. The guy died.
Oh,
yeah, the guy died. They hit him. They dumped his body in the water. No, wait. Hold on a second. No! Wait, what happens in this movie?
What?
Wait, hold on. No, so they found... Okay, so they hit him that night, but he didn't die. The body they found was the guy who they killed. Who he killed, I mean.
Yes.
And, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, so...
Yes, okay. Okay, so that's what happened.
Oh,
so in other words, the guy still died. He was still murdered by him. In fact, in a weird way, they're the ones who actually still killed him because they dumped his body in the water when he was so clearly alive. Yeah. So, okay, wow. So I got that ending completely wrong. It still backs up what I said, though. It's still them coming in at the end and go, don't worry, you didn't actually murder anybody. There's another murderer out here, and he did the murder, and you just found the body, and you've been living with the shame of it this entire year, thinking that you're the ones who actually did. And it's like, guys, you did a very impressive thing by making me root for these guys, even though they did this horrible thing. Don't kind of like cop out here at the very end. Especially because it really does feel like they were just introducing all these elements at the very end. Like, he had a girlfriend who died there the year before. Like, they mentioned that earlier. But then, like, it was a suicide. The father was doing this thing. It was so many elements that they just crammed in there at the end to try and make the audience not feel as bad.
Like, I figured it was more like trying to, like, make it more of a who's who kind of thing. Like, oh.
No, it's a studio note. Like, I can tell this was a studio note coming in here and it's going, we gotta do something so that they're not just rooting on murderers the entire time. Like, oh, the audience is gonna be mad at them. You gotta do something that proves that they're innocent. It's like, you don't have to do that. We're rooting these kids on already, man. It's whatever. Is there another spoiler in here? Oh, yeah, Freddie Prinze Jr. hooked up with the sister of the guy who they thought they murdered after he broke up with Jennifer Love Hewitt because he just wanted to, he wanted to get to know more about this guy. He wanted to kind of, apologize to her. And, yeah, every single time that they're like, oh, well, they said his name was this. What? Where did you hear that name before? What? Well, we gotta go back and talk to her. I don't want anything to do with any of this. I'm gonna go over here for some reason. And the movie's trying to set it up like he's actually the real killer. He's the one hunting each of them down. Nah, man, it was too... you were trying too hard to hide it behind that. It's like, no, I see what you're doing here. So yeah, aside from the explanation at the ending of who the real killer is, yeah, I still really dug this movie. I really enjoyed this. This is actually one of my favorite slasher films out there.
You do like Scream, don't you?
I think it's all right. I think it's overhyped, but I like it. I think it is a decently made film. I think it is, for a slasher film, it's good. But like I said, I just don't like slashers. It's not my thing. I don't even really like, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween even. Halloween, the original, I like. All the other ones I don't give a crap about. So yeah, that was I Know What You Did Last Summer. We have 2 more viewers' choices coming up. Just to warn everyone, we're recording the next 2 reviews as soon as we're done with this one. So let us know what you thought of, what did we just review? I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let us know what you thought of that down below, but the requests are closed at the moment. Thank you to everyone who submitted a request. Make sure that you stay tuned for the next 2 days to see if we chose your request. And as always, happy Halloween.
Bye.